Anyway, we're doing Walters, and all of a sudden that pain in her side comes back, even with the epidural. So we're thinking, okay, something's wrong with the epidural. Well, that's when baby's heart rate tanks.
Mm.
We move, which can happen with Walters.
Yeah.
Like that is something we look out for, and
Yeah.
we move positions, and baby's heart rate
Mm-hmm.
comes back up. And it's usually because
Mm-hmm.
baby has come down lower into the
Mm-hmm.
pelvis, and
Yeah.
that's typical.
Yeah.
So baby's heart rate comes back up after. I mean, it did take a little bit of time. Hi, I'm Rachel, owner of the Natural Birth site, certified birth doula, childbirth educator, and midwife's assistant.
And I'm Tiffany Muniz, certified birth doula, lactation counselor, and midwife assistant.
Here, you'll learn all about different aspects of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Remember, none of this information should take the place of your care provider and is not medical advice.
Birth is not a medical emergency.
Thanks for listening.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Natural Birth Talk. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Rachel.
How is everybody doing?
Seriously, because it's been so long.
It's been what, 6 months?
Almost, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, mid 2024 was our last episode release, I think. So, oh my goodness, we've had a lot go on in that time.
Yeah, there have been a lot of changes, a lot of transitions in, I think both of our lives.
Yep.
So why don't we just start from like what has happened? Like, let's start where we left off.
Yeah.
So do you remember what our last episode was?
Oh my gosh. I actually don't. Let me go look it up.
Me either. I was going to say I can get on.
Let's see. Well, okay. So the last one we talked about was actually a sensitive topic. Our last little series we did.
Yes.
Was on stillbirth.
Yes, it was.
That was a very sensitive topic. So Jillian shared her story.
Yeah.
And then doula, nurse / midwife in training, Cynthia, Jillian's mom, actually came on and shared a bunch of tips that she had discovered. So that was a sensitive topic. So let's make today a little more happy.
Yeah, right?
Although I guess some of our transitions may not. Some of our reasonings for not recording maybe not be the most happy things, but
right. Well, first let's start with the not happy stuff. So then we can end with like the happy stuff.
That is a great idea.
So basically what happened was Rachel and I both lost our grandmas within a matter of like a month of each other.
Very close together. And mine was a little expected, but also like once she kind of went downhill, she went downhill quickly.
Yeah. Mine was unexpected.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that my grandma essentially like helped raise me. So she was almost like another parent to me. And she basically got sick over the summer and then, wasn't doing well. She ended up moving in with my parents on, I can't really remember the days now, but
that's okay.
I remember like I went to go see her at my mom's house on Friday. On Tuesday morning, she was doing okay. By Tuesday afternoon, she was no longer talking or walking or anything like that. And by Thursday morning, she had passed away at my mom's house.
I remember the text you sent me because you're like, I just saw her and she was totally fine.
She was fine. Right. I mean, she wasn't perfect, of course, like she was sick, but So, for both of us, it was a really hard time.
Yes, because it was also around the same time that our kids were starting school back up again.
Right.
And, we knew we wanted a break for the holidays anyway, because everybody's so busy and we were just tired, to be honest.
Yeah, right. Because at the time we were both still attending births too.
Right.
Over the summer. I don't know if I ever announced like on the podcast that I had decided over the summer to stop taking birth clients.
I don't know if you did tell us.
I don't think so because I feel like it all kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah.
It was something that I had started thinking about like spring of 2024. My work was really starting to put a strain like on my family. Emotionally, physically, me not being here was really hard. So it was something that my husband and I had chatted about, and we just decided that I would stop taking clients towards the end of 2024.
Yeah.
I had clients that had hired me like early on in their pregnancies that I knew that they were due sometime in October. So that's when I decided, those two women would be my last clients that I would take. So yeah, from like summertime until early fall, there was a lot of stuff happening.
A lot.
Between the grandmas passing away and then the kids starting school. My grandma passed away like late August. And actually my son Pax, his first day of school was the day of her funeral.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it was.
And my grandma was late July or early August. I can't even remember exactly.
Yeah, for some reason I feel like they were like 3.5 weeks apart or something.
They were close.
Very close.
Because I had called you. So that's what happened. So I had called you to be like, okay, I'm really stressed out. I don't know if we can record. Please give me your thoughts. Because listeners, I always need Tiffany's validation to make a choice. Like I can't make my own. With the podcast, like I'm great at making choices and other things, but like with the podcast, I'm like, Tiffany, I need you to like talk me through this. So I had called her and was like, excuse me, kind of trying to tell her what like I was thinking and feeling. And then she told me, well, actually my grandma's not doing well now too or something. And it was just like, oh my gosh.
I think it was a Monday that we had talked, or Monday or Tuesday that you had called and you were like, I've prayed about this. I asked God, like, can you, show me a sign or, whatever. And, that was the same day that my grandma got admitted to hospice was like that day. So I was like, honestly, like, I'm not in a great headspace.
Right.
I think that, we should just decide to take this time off maybe for the rest of the year. And then, or no, I think we decided October, right? Like we were going to
we were going to reconvene in October. And then we're both like, not ready yet.
There's just too much going on. Yeah. And then of course we always kind of take a break around the holidays.
Right.
So, of course, like we had planned to do that anyway. So
here we are now.
Here we are.
And so Tiffany's still in the birth work field. She's still doing her childbirth ed classes in her office space and lactation counseling. And you got a job as a nurse again because that was your original background was nursing.
Yeah. So I graduated nursing school when I was 20. I had just turned 21 years old. I did that for 5 or 6 years until I had my son. And whenever I had my son, that's when I kind of felt this pull to like transition to birth work. Yeah. And that's what I had done, obviously for the past, 6 or 7 years. It's been really great, honestly, to like be off call.
Yeah.
The last 2 births that I went to were just absolutely amazing and beautiful. And like everything that I had like hoped and prayed for my clients, like leading up to their births.
That's awesome.
One was a vaginal birth after 2 C-sections.
Woo. I did one of those around that time too.
Yeah. I think I can't remember exactly, early October. And then the last client was a few days later. Actually, she was a family member of my sister-in-law's.
Okay.
And she had struggled with secondary infertility.
Okay.
And ended up doing IVF to get pregnant. And it took a really long time. And she had a beautiful birth center birth over at Mercy Hospital in St. Louis. So
good.
It was like amazing. A great way to end my time, attending births for the time being.
Yeah.
Like you said, Rachel, I'm still, doing classes and I'm seeing patients like up at my office for lactation stuff. But yeah, it's been really great.
Hey everyone, Rachel Manns here, and today I have something I'm thrilled to share with you guys. Imagine having a treasure trove of informative, entertaining, and empowering video content about the journey to parenthood right at your fingertips. That's exactly what you get with Informed Pregnancy Plus. For less than 25 cents a day, that's a quarter, guys, you'll gain access to a vast subscription library filled with documentary films, web series, mind and body fitness programs, workshops, and courses covering fertility to parenting and everything in between. Designed for new and expectant parents, as well as pregnancy and birth professionals, Informed Pregnancy Plus is like having a trusted BFF and doctor in one, guiding you through every step of the path to and through parenthood. A few of just my favorite titles are obviously The Business of Being Born, Empowered Mama, Belly Dance for Birth, how fun is that? Ease into Sleep, the Afterbirth Plan, and the Core Connection, an extremely well presented and informative workshop teaching you about your core and pelvic floor and how to keep them healthy. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can gain full access absolutely free. Just visit informedpregnancy.tv to sign up. Sign up for Informed Pregnancy Plus right now. I'm not kidding, guys. It's really going to help you out. It's my prescription for your informed and empowered parenting journey, all from the comfort of your home. Visit informedpregnancy.tv. That's informedpregnancy.tv, and the link will be in the description below. Now back to the show. Yeah, I totally believe it. So another reason we had stopped recording too is September and October. I ended up in like 6 or 8 births in those 2 months. They were not all my clients. Some of them were me as a midwife's assistant for the home birth practice. I did several of those as well. And it was just, I mean, it was nice. I made money, but
of course. Right. Yeah.
It was like a lot. And so then November, I went on a mission trip in November.
How was that? Guatemala. We never even talked about that.
We haven't talked about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm currently raising money for a family I met down there to buy them a plot of land and build them a small house. To buy somebody a house in Guatemala, like a plot of land in a small house in the area of Guatemala that I was in, which was Magdalena, $20,000.
What?
That's all. I was like,
wow.
That's all? That's all? Because that's totally doable and reachable. So my kids and I have been working on that as like a big service project and starting to raise some money. So anyway, the day before I left for my mission trip, I was in a very long birth, which was wild because her uterus ruptured because she was a VBAC.
Oh, my
Nobody knew. Nobody knew. So we think it actually ruptured like 6 or 8 hours before we actually took her back for a C-section. Everybody was fine.
Oh my gosh.
So her 45-minute C-section turned into a 3.5-hour surgery because it ruptured by her bladder. And so like when her uterus ruptured, by the time they got into the C-section, which, I mean, really the C-section was for failure to progress because she was 42 weeks, had been in labor for 48 hours. Nothing was happening. Baby's heart rate did tank right before she chose a C-section, but they got it back up. Everybody was fine. And I mean, long story short, though, she chose to go ahead and have the repeat C-section. They got in and the baby's shoulder was outside her uterus. And when her uterus ruptured, it ruptured into her bladder. So then we had a bladder repair surgery on top of the uterine rupture, which sounds like scary and crazy, but like nobody's life was ever in question.
You know,
it's like my first rupture, and it's like it wasn't even. We think it ruptured like 8 hours sooner when she had some symptoms of rupture before that they ignored.
So funny story, not funny, but similar. A past placenta client of mine, she actually was a doula client of one of our really good friends.
Okay.
This second time she got pregnant, she decided to not hire a doula, and she. Lots of things happened. She ended up like going to a hospital that she wasn't going to originally be at. Labored for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have a lot of progression. Ended up getting an epidural. Still no progression. She finally opted for a C-section. And when they got in there, her uterus had ruptured and the baby's fingers were sticking out.
It's crazy because you always hear about.
She apparently, I think she had like pain in her chest or her ribs or something. And they were like, oh, not a big deal. They thought maybe it was
it was nerve pain.
It was her amniotic fluid leaking out into her. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
I wish I still had the text message, but I had to get a new phone over the holidays. So I lost a bunch of that, but,
and she and baby were fine.
They were totally fine.
And that's what was wild to me. So this is the first rupture I've been in because uterine ruptures are incredibly rare, even with a VBAC, even with a vaginal birth after a C-section. They're still incredibly rare. So it's the first rupture I've been in, and we didn't even know it was a rupture because everybody was fine, other than baby's heart rate kind of tanking. And so like before this mama had gotten the epidural, they had upped her Pitocin. Because she wasn't induced, but her water had broken. It had been broken for a long time, and she wasn't progressing. So then they started Pitocin low and slow. Well, they had upped it a tiny bit, and she had this huge pain in her side. And I mean, she went from being fine to like freaking out. And I was on the way over when this happened. I was on the way to meet back up with her because I'd been with her already and had gone home. So I'm on the way to meet back up with her. But then she gets the epidural and she's fine and the pain goes away. So we're like, okay, like we didn't really think anything of it.
Right.
So then we, after many, many, many hours and very little progression again, I'm like, let's try Walters. Like, because that really is very, very effective in the type of situation we were in. Excuse me. Oh, I'm choking on my own spit. One of my many talents, guys. Sorry. So I do that weekly. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, we're doing Walters and all of a sudden that pain in her side comes back, even with the epidural. So we're thinking, okay, something's wrong with the epidural. Well, that's when baby's heart rate tanks. We move, which can happen with Walters. Like that is something we look out for, and we move positions and baby's heart rate comes back up. And it's usually because baby has come down lower into the pelvis. And that's typical.
Yeah.
So baby's heart rate comes back up after, I mean, it did take a little bit of time, but the heart rate comes back up. Nobody's, worried anymore. Other than we're thinking, okay, maybe, and baby didn't lose station. And that's something they look for when they do a vaginal exam for a rupture. Did baby go higher up in the pelvis? Baby had actually come down.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, Walters worked.
Great. Yeah.
But they had to like use terbutaline to turn off her contractions to get the heart rate to come back up. And the doctor comes in and he's a very, very, very patient doctor. And he's like, I really think it's time for a C-section. Like this has been 48 hours. The heart rate tanked. The only reason your baby's heart rate's doing fine, because the heart rate was kind of having some dips with contractions and was coming back up, which isn't abnormal at the end of labor, but like she was still kind of in this, not at the end, kind of in this middle part. Anyway, so then when we got into the C-section, where she was feeling that pain is where her uterus had ruptured. And so it had been ruptured for like 8 hours. And everything was fine. And yes, obviously she had a more extensive surgery and recovery, but nobody's life was in question. Mom, for that 3.5 hours, the hospital let me stay in the OR pretty much the whole time. They called in an extra doctor to do the bladder surgery so it could be done properly. Mom was like awake and alert and doing amazing. They didn't have to put her under general. They did offer it to her, but she didn't want it. And it was just wild because you always hear uterine rupture is the danger and it'll kill mom or baby or both. And in both of our situations, mom and baby were fine. And I'm not saying that they're always going to be fine because it can be very, very, very serious, but it also can be fine.
Yep.
It's just like
they were in both situations.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so that was the day before my mission trip, and then the day I got back from my mission trip, I was in another birth.
Oh my gosh!
It like framed my 9-day mission trip.
Yeah.
So my last client was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so I've been off call for 3 weeks and I'm not on call for a few more days and just taking that time to like be off call because the last client delivered like 5 weeks early. So her baby was premature, but it's like that time to take off call is like huge.
It is.
Even just for a few weeks for me. And then you with not taking clients anymore. I know you said your hormones feel better and
oh my gosh, my stress level is so different, because when we would get called out, well, one thing, like we would have to have our notifications on all the time. Like, if somebody reaches out or calls or texts or emails, like you tell them like that you're pretty well available to reach at all times. So like and I was talking to another one of our doula friends about this yesterday. It almost like towards the end was like, if I heard my phone go off, it was like an automatic, what's the word?
Like a fight or flight response.
Like fight or flight. And so for the past, since mid-October, I have had my notifications off, like my ringer off and everything. And it has been beautiful.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Being honest. Yeah. Like like I was telling you beforehand, like I can feel that my stress hormones are like at a normal level versus being turned on 24/7. Yeah. Even after my last client delivered, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later. My son had football practice and, it was this like thing that every single night when the sun would go down, I would start to get anxious because, as you and I both know, and a lot of our listeners know, usually once night comes, that's when things will pick up for moms. Or moms will go into labor during that time. So every night when the sun went down, I would start just getting anxious. I always had a hard time.
And then that's when you're tired. So you're like, am I going to get to sleep tonight or not?
Right. Because there's nothing worse than like being up all day long and then having to go to a birth overnight and not knowing when you're going to be able to sleep again. So we were driving home and I was looking at the sunset as we were driving home, and I started to feel that like anxiety feeling. And my husband, Josh, was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like my body isn't used to not being on call yet. I'm still getting that like reaction that I would have. So yeah, that's been, I feel like really over the past like 6 weeks, it's, my body has like chilled out and understood that like, we're not on call anymore and we can get sleep when we need it. And,
that's nice.
Go to the bathroom and eat and
and eat like legit food, not just the granola bars we're living off of or the peanut butter and crackers.
Food or, a lot of people, it is so amazing to be a doula, right? Like
absolutely.
It is so amazing and beautiful. And it really is all the things that you think it would be. But there are also some dark parts of being a doula too. Like, constantly being on call, being away from your family for, you don't know if it's going to be, 4 hours or 40 hours or days, not being able to eat, not being able to go to the bathroom whenever you need to. And so, yeah, it's been great.
I am so happy to hear that. I have really just been taking repeat clients for the most part lately. And I mean, even just that is huge because, first time moms tend to have longer labors, not always, but like, I don't stress too much about that. And, even just being able to take a breath and just take kind of repeat clients and still assisting with the home birth practice. But even that's like way easier than being a doula.
Sure, for sure.
So much less stuff I have to do.
Yeah.
I can also, totally step out of the room and take a break.
Usually, the assistant, at least, they're usually like the last ones to get there, like at a home birth. So that's great too.
Yeah. So just a lot has happened in the last few months, I guess, is everything we're trying to say. And, and the transition kind of like and
keep talking in circles and saying the same thing. But like,
But hey, this turned into a learning opportunity for our listeners too, because we talked about ruptures and how they're not always a life and death situation.
We should. So I have a VBAC class that I teach. We should do, I'm sure you've done like before me have done episodes on VBACs, but we should do an episode or a series based on VBACs and like actual real statistics and studies. And, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, because we both just attended a VBAC after 2 C-sections right before, back in October. We both were at one. Yeah. Mine was an HBAC, actually. So it was a home birth after 2 C-sections.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, there's so much about VBACs that is really highly misunderstood. So I think that is a great idea. So listeners, we'll have that coming.
Yeah, we need to put that on the list.
We're going to put that on the list. We'll have some heavy VBAC chats coming. I have someone who's been on multiple times. You listeners love her episodes. Her name is Mariah Diffie. She's going to come on. She's got a new app out that's to be used during pregnancy and labor and has a lot of good like position recommendations.
Ooh.
But it's like in the app. So it tells you what to do. Like you put the questions and like answer the questions and it tells you what to do. So like you don't even have to think about going through the checklist in your own head. The app prompts you. So
that's awesome.
That's going to be really cool. So she's going to be on soon. I mean, and honestly, since we've stopped recording, I've had at least 6 inquiries for people to be on the show. So we are releasing monthly now.
That's what I was going to say. Let's talk about what the podcast is going to look like moving forward.
Yes. So monthly releases, not bi-weekly or twice a month. Honestly, guys, we're just tired still. Like, we took a break, but and we just have a lot, there's a lot going on. And honestly, the editing falls on me usually, and I do not enjoy editing podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be, but we still want to put out content for you guys. We want you guys to have, access to that. And we've gotten a lot of people emailing saying they miss us too.
Yeah.
So we want to keep, providing that service. So it's going to be monthly instead of every 2 weeks. And we're going to keep kind of doing the same thing we've been doing, though. The same, just anything natural pregnancy, natural birth, natural postpartum related, whatever comes up. And we're answering questions. If you guys have any questions, you can shoot us an email at contact@thenaturalbirthsite.com. You can hit up Tiffany's social media page, the doula at the doula Tiffany.
At the doula Tiffany,
on Facebook and Instagram, right?
Yes, yep.
You can hit up our Natural Birth Site page, but honestly, our social media is, I cannot promise we are going to respond. Social media is one of the things that is,
we have a love-hate relationship with our social media.
Yes.
So for all last year, I worked really hard at trying to serve content. I would bring things over that I had on my personal social media that would do really well on my social media. I would bring it over to the podcast social media, and it just, nobody really ever interacted with it. Nobody ever really did. I mean, it just was really sad because I felt like I was working really hard on trying to build it. Yeah.
So yeah, we are probably not going to do much with our social media pages.
Yeah,
but you guys don't really seem to interact with those and need those. And so that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. So that's just something we're taking off of our plates. The pages will probably still be up. We might post every once in a while. You can try to contact us through those. And I do get those notifications usually.
I do too on Business Suite.
Perfect.
I sometimes don't answer the messages because I just don't know if it's a personal client of yours or,
yeah. Well, so you can do that. You can also, like I said, Tiffany's social media at the doula Tiffany, or my social media, my personal social media at Rachel Mann's Doula. So, and that mine's only Facebook. Hers is Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
So those are just, you still have ways to contact us. You're still going to be able to hear from us. So we're back. We're back at a smaller scale.
Yeah, in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, but same content kind of stuff. So anyway.
Yep.
I don't have anything else.
Me either. I don't think.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening to our welcome back chat. We can't wait to get another episode out in February, and keep the questions coming if you guys have them, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Rachel Manns again. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to and rate this podcast, and head over to thenaturalbirthsite.com to check out our online natural birth education course, birth story blog, YouTube channel, and more.